I am back. So that was back into the foxhole. La 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 la. Yes, welcome back. Hold the applause. Hold the ovation. Hold the ovulations. You'll probably want to hold them anyway, because this is going to be more of a focused kind of cast where I was going to talk about my spiritual awakening. And why would I do that? The eternal question, why you do anything ever? Misha, why you get on here? Why you yapping? Well, I think this is kind of important, actually, for the reason that it's just not generally accepted, or like a lot of it's not accepted or spoken about, or like even really known. And there's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff they can't explain, and well, I'm one of those, or I was. So I'm going to bring attention to some of those things. Hopefully, I can get really personal and not be personal, passive aggressive the entire time, or chortle away the entire way, chortle away. I'm gonna try my best. It's really tough. Once something happens when I get on this microphone, I couldn't tell you what it is, specifically. But yeah, so I just want to preface this with a couple things. I'm not calling anyone out. I have no heavy feelings regarding things I may talk about, but they do still affect me to this day, very, very greatly. In fact, in every moment. So that's something. And also, this world is not what we were promised it to be. Maybe people were promised different things, I suppose, obviously, but not really. I mean, not really at all. Even if you were promised something back in the day, definitely, I don't think it matches. It doesn't. Let's just be clear. It's not going to match. Where we are not where we think we are, and that kind of brings me to my next kind of part before I start the story. Yeah, like what is spiritual awakening anyway? What is that? Is it just a way to feel superior to others because you have more? You are enlightened, and you will enchant them with your golden fleece jacket and mustache. Not exactly. So what, to me, what does it mean? What is a spiritual awakening? It's becoming aware of three things specifically. One, you're not who you think you are. You're not your name. You're just not. That's what's in your mind or whatnot, but it's just not what it is. You could say you're an animal. I would say closer to an animal, but even then that doesn't really cover it. 2, spiritual means there's something going on that you are not aware of, that you cannot perceive, that is benevolent, or malevolent, whatever. It goes both ways, but the point is that something's going on beyond your cognition. Something invisible. And 3, time, it's not even that time is an illusion. It just doesn't happen in a linear fashion. This is important because, well, it's everything. It's baked in the crust. My Brazil. It's right in the gravy. When you're making those biscuits, you're cooking them at how long? Well, I mean, it depends on your state of being, your perceivable way. It's relative. You know, it's like when people say, "Oh, it was a long day." Well, I mean, how does that happen, right? And what does it mean? How does it happen? Yeah. So, So where we leave off, when I was a wee lad, in a galaxy far, far into not destroying every franchise and media that was once good aggressively, a galaxy where that doesn't happen, I was agnostic. It's like where, like, I just didn't, like, I knew there was something, you know. Agnostic is like where you believe in something, but you're not tied to any one belief system. And that's kind of where I land still, actually. But with a few citations, brackets, asterisks, side notes, and I guess the first kind of phase was around 2012. Something definitely happened around 2012. It was more subtle in nature than what was advertised. But something definitely happened. I felt it right on the day that it was told. The philosopher, whatever, Nostradamus or whatever, something changed for sure. In reality, for sure. And my reality, I think, well, how I see it is reality changes coinciding with the progression, I mean, of my life, or consciousness itself. Not saying it's all happening at the same rate or rhythm or something like that, but it does definitely coincide with the progression of what's happening to me in some way. And at that time I was going through, I was moving out of my place for the first time. Living on my own. I was living on my own for the first time. and I was moving very far away from my home at the time, and also it was a very very heavy breakup. Like I moved there, and then I was broken up with, and then so what happened? And I was in a very different environment, a very mountainous place, and I I like to go to extremes, and well, that's just kind of how I am. So I noticed, well, like what was happening was like my breathing. I had a lot more anxiety, and my breathing had changed. It felt like it was shorter, maybe from being in different height, different altitude, and I just couldn't. I would use different kind of techniques to relax, and one of them that I found very effective at the time was cold showers. Cold showers really helped me get to a deeper state of relaxation, and it really it would bring like an awareness. It really help me wake up in the morning. I would take them every day. When I get in my head I want to do something, I really go to the max, because I want to feel the whole effects to make sure I'm getting the full dosage, and that's what I did. And what I really noticed about cold showers was that it really helped me sleep, and that's kind of what my next part of what I was doing at the time was practicing lucid dreaming, and what I was able to do, I was actually very skilled at the time, where I did go down. I went down 3 dreams down once, and when you get down that far, it's almost as if you're fully awake, but in your dream, able to do whatever you want, just as if you were awake, but obviously in your dream. And time scales down very slowly, so your dream lasts kind of not exactly longer, but it's much more stable. It's exactly like Inception portrays it. Actually, you get like kind of like an earthquake if you're gonna wake up, and certain things kind of trigger the wake up, I guess. But yeah, and that I bring this up as my spiritual awakening part because, well, with this lucid dreaming, I noticed one day, I woke up from a lucid dream. I just went down very deep in relaxation. I felt like you actually go asleep. To get down to the next level of dream, you actually go to sleep in that dream. So I went down to this level where it was the deepest sleep I've ever had, easily, by going two dreams down, falling asleep in my dream. And then when I woke up, it felt as if my eyes had changed color, and that's when I figured that I had manifested my twin flame. That's when, or soulmate, karmic connection, whatever you want to call it, this connection that was very magical in nature, let's say, maybe divine. It wasn't like wasn't normal. Let's say that in the traditional sense. And I'm not making this connection. It's not like I made this connection when it was happening, this is like years. This is years later, where I made this connection that was the moment when this happened. Even after, like, I made the connection after it happened, after the relationship ended and everything. Like, this is not something I just cooked up and like, oh, I did it. She's coming. She's on her way. And as I woke up, I was not cognizant of it at the time. But I definitely felt like something changed. So that was kind of the first kind of phase of, like, I guess because it's the lucid dreaming is like supernatural. It's completely like a no man's land, or not, like an unresearched area of life, like you can't even research it really exactly, because it's supernatural in some way, for sure. So that's kind of the first phase I felt, because I definitely, at that point, going through 2012, lucid dreaming, cold showers, I was like, there's something going on with this here, there, life, there thing here. This is phase 1 complete, I would say. And then still, it's not like that changed my belief set or anything. Second phase was, well, it coincided with I was working out when I was in Vancouver there. Pretty much, not every day, but 5 days a week, bulking, looks maxing, no, bursting through the seams of my pants from squats, just shredding it, really. It was just a good time, and also that when I returned from Vancouver, I was still working out, and developed this condition. Like, my energy was very high, and I would hallucinate, or what people would refer to as synesthesia, when I'd be working out, and I'd just be high off caffeine, basically. I'd be seeing shapes and colors when I'm sober, which was, and it was like euphoric kind of states, and that kind of developed for a while. With that, it kind of worked with I guess marijuana intake. Probably had some sort of effect, I'm assuming, but I mean, marijuana unravels the fabric of reality quite quickly. So it definitely had an effect in some way. Yeah, so that was kind of where that was going. Still at that point, I didn't really have a belief system at that point, but I was just like, yeah, that's awesome. And also, wow, everything's changing in some way. For sure. And this led to up to, well, I guess I just kind of there was a couple years where I would just go through jobs. I noticed there's this cycle going on in my life where it just like, I get a job, I didn't like it, and I'd want to escape pretty much consistently. This would happen. It felt like forever. And that happened for a while, and it felt like forever, like I said. Also, I had developed this condition that was, I guess, what would be referred to as extreme, like, seasonal depression, seasonal effectiveness disorder, just sensitivity to cold, I guess, or so these negative cycles I noticed just kind of led up to this one point, this one winter where my family was going on a cruise to the Caribbean. And I was like, okay, this is my chance to escape this cycle forever. And like I said, when the going gets rough and I get tough, when the nitty gets gritty, I be throwing it down, you know. When you get to the when I'm doing the gritty, and I'm throwing down the gritty. I get down to the nitty gritty. I get down to that gritty. I throw down the gritty. I'm very disciplined. I do the extremes, and it felt something inside of me was like, this is my. I'm just gonna save up kind of my energy. I just didn't do anything for like a month before this. Like I didn't talk to anyone. I barely even like played games that I would usually play. I was just bottling. I was in a cocoon kind of, I guess. And so what happened was, I had some mushrooms that I was saving for just for this trip, that I was going to take them right before I got on the plane for this trip, because like I was gonna make a change in my life, a permanent change basically, to escape this like terrible feeling that I get every winter basically, and that's what I did. And so what transpired was, well, I had taken mushrooms earlier, and I think it was a couple weeks before the trip, and I actually got frostbite. I got frostbite, and it hadn't fully healed before I left. I didn't think of this before as like a issue, because I never had gotten frostbite before. I didn't know what to do about it. But what I would later learn, foreshadowing, I don't know if I remember everything, but basically, it got worse because I'm going down into a very hot climate, direct sunlight on this frostbite. This is all a side note, but it was definitely integral to the whole thing, and caused a lot of like bipolarism happening, because I thought I was going to lose my finger the entire time. But really what was happening for the first part was just like completely opening me up to this whole other way of being, basically. I remember for the first time I told my sister that I loved her. And I really, because I meant it, I felt it for the first time for real, that like I loved my sister. I told her, and something changed when that happened. I was just more relaxed. And when I was on the plane on mushrooms, like usually do not do this. It's a terrible idea. But in this time, when I was this agnostic, quiet bro, introverted mechanism of servitude, I got into this meditative state where usually I see, like, on marijuana I would see this triangle, just a 2D triangle. But on the plane I saw this more like 3-dimensional light blue triangle when I like lifted my feet off the ground, and I was like put some mudras. It's like where you put your fingers in a certain way. I don't know exactly what I was doing, but it felt right, and it was and yeah, that I achieved this like deep meditative state. And colors were definitely brighter. That's something that was going on. But I would see, there was another state on the plane that I achieved. I don't remember what it was, but it was a different geometry. Yeah, so this was all happening without anybody's knowledge, just on mushrooms, family trip. Yeah, and I was handling it quite well. Like, I think, like, I don't think mushrooms usually last this long, because it lasted basically, the trip lasted like a week, at least, in some amount. So we're landing in Fort Lauderdale, and everything is amazing. I loved Florida. I was hanging out on, I don't remember exactly, the bar area by myself as this twink child, barely sociable person, but very, very jacked, very good looking actually at the time. Not that that's changed, but I was very fit, let's say that. A couple things happened there. I was like, for the first time, I found this piece of art in this art gallery in Fort Lauderdale that I just sat and looked at it for, it must have been like a couple hours. And it really spoke to me, obviously. Art has never done that to me before. I could not tell you what it was at the time. I couldn't tell you right now what it was, but I would go back and purchase that painting. I even told them, I was like, this is, I like, even though it was like, I think it was like $20,000 or something, and I was like, oh, I see, said the blind man. I would purchase this painting. It's worth it. This is something I agreed with it at the time, and I think I would, yeah, I want that painting, no matter the price. I don't, yeah. And then the second thing, so this was happening at Christmas, and everyone was Santa Claus. It was Santa Con, Santa March. Everyone was Santa. I wasn't a party person, so I didn't know what to do. I just decided to. I just wanted to get to a beach. So what I ended up doing was taking this taxi, and I swear, I don't know how to explain this, but I swear, this girl, she just like jumped in my taxi with me, and I swear, I don't know how to explain this, but this was Lana Del Rey. This was her. I don't know how to explain it more, other than that. If it wasn't Lana Del Rey, it was her spiritual person. It was her spiritual, like, successor, or like her soul person, family person. And yeah, I obviously didn't really have the charisma, or like, mostly I just wanted to get to a beach. I was getting depressed very quickly in the night, in the darkness of the night, without a beach, not seeing a beach yet. So I didn't really make as much effort as I could have, because she was definitely like interested. Yeah, and I was also remember a small twink robot boy. So nothing happened there. But yeah, we dropped her off at her gated house in rich land, and I don't remember what happened after that exactly, but I kind of just walked around, and I didn't find a beach. Yeah. So that was Fort Lauderdale. So then, next day we got on the cruise. I was very excited. I don't remember up until I got on the cruise, and I started meeting everyone. I would go. I'm not necessarily. I'm definitely not naturally sociable, but I was going everywhere. I was knocking on doors. I was winking to customer service. I was saying ching chong to the Chinese. I was saying ching chong to the Chinese people. I was saying ching chong to the Chinese people. I was saying howdy do to the cowboys. I was all over that shit. Oh my god. But so the point of what I'm saying, the point of what I'm trying to say is what I'm trying to say is the important part of this part. What I'm talking about is that I could actually pinpoint, no lie, and this is the first time this ever happened to me, and this is totally the mushrooms. And what I would later refer to as Christ consciousness, I still hold by this. Pure love, pure sensitivity. I could pinpoint where these people were born. I've never I was guessing like parts of China, like Midwestern, Qing Gong, like Qing Kong, like, or like lower east Manhattan. I was pinpointing where these people were born just by like meeting them on the first time. Every time I get it almost pretty much exactly right. And that's the main part I remember of the cruise. Before the happening happened, where, so what happened was, there's this one night, I'm still very sensitive, and I was listening to music. It was dark, and I swear, like, I felt one cold breeze, and then I did something like, oh yeah, I also skipped over this part where I met this girl that I completely fell in love with. She was Montana, or her name was Montana. I was confused. Her name was Hannah. She was no, her name was Montana, but she was from Alabama. I don't think she really made it clear on purpose. She had some sort of like Hannah Montana thing going on. Um, but so that's a key factor as well that happened. And this was like, yeah, she matched kind of like that whole like lucid dreaming thing. That felt connected to that kind of connection that I was feeling to this person. So I was like, yeah, I want to marry her and etc. on this cruise on Christmas. Yeah, that was the thing. I wanted to I wanted to marry her on the cruise ship. I didn't really say that to anyone, but I thought about it and I was gonna execute it for sure. Um, and then so what happened was about this breeze, right? It was dark. It was we were heading to we had already gone to the Bahamas, which was amazing. I walked barefoot um, all the way through town. Like I left the cruise ship without shoes. I walked to the beach. Like it would have been like 3 miles through the Bahamas, right off the cruise ship, no shoes. I walked right to the ocean. I walked right through the coral. Like I did a run. I ran right across the beach very fast. Like I did my run on the beach when I got there. And then when I got to this like I don't know what you call it. It's like the coral reef, but it's like sticking out. The coral, the coral reef was sticking out of the ground, like or the sand. Like it was visible. It was above the water, and I was walking on this very sharp. This is very, and nobody would do this. Let's just say it was very sharp stone, or very. I guess it would be like an atoll. It's made of crab people. I don't remember that. I don't know the scientific term at this moment. Crab people. The atoll. It's like an atoll. It's like it's pointy. It's really sharp because it's very differently affected by the water, the waves, and the erosion. Right. So I walked right all the way to the tip of this atoll-like thing with my bare feet, and I don't know why. I just wanted to be at the ocean because it was my first time at the ocean, I guess, and that's what I did. And this entire time, well, actually, what happened was when I kind of got out there, right, and then I kind of realized, my finger is not good. the frostbite worsening. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, I better get back to the ship. We're gonna need a boat. So we went. I started heading back, and I was just walking because I didn't bring any money or anything. But I felt like my finger could be in danger. So I was like, I was talking to like a lot of the people. I was trying to like, oh yeah, I remember. I was on a hot one for sure, as well. Like this one time, I was like, on the way back, I was like, I'm just gonna go sit in this limousine. It was open, waiting for people at the hotel, and I was like, I'll just go sit in this limousine, and I'm just so cool that they'll just take me to the cruise ship. Yeah, that didn't work, but I definitely did attempt it. Yeah, so then eventually, actually, someone gave me a ride when I tried to talk, when I explained what was going on, kind of. And that was cool. They have a very interesting. It was like I'm not gonna try to. It was like bombaklat, it's like that kind of accent. The people there, and I showed them, like it's where a dubstep was originated, like real reggae dubstep. So I showed them American or like white people dubstep. Like it was Knife Party, I think. So from there, that was just the first like island. That was the first stop like on the whole trip. It was like a quarter of the way through. That was before the breeze, it was before the breeze, by the way. So yeah, I was looking up at the stars. It was nice. And then that breeze came through. The breeze. Oh boy. Yeah. And that sent me off. I had to run away at that moment from the breeze, and I went down and I noticed the deck was slippery on the ship in this area. And then immediately, with my heart wide open now, I was like so concerned for everyone for some reason. And I was like, I went to customer service and I was like, yo, these decks, they wet and someone gonna slip and die. And then they're like, oh, it's okay. I don't know what they said, but I demanded to see the people in charge of safety on the ship. And they actually brought someone. They brought the two most, and I'm not saying this naively or whatever. I don't know, however you want to put it. These were the two most Jewish people I've ever met in my life. Like, I could feel their I could feel their hatred or like their resentment from the Holocaust, like very viscerally from them. And they sat down and they just asked me about who I was, where I was from. I told them how I felt, and they're like, yeah, I see what you mean. And it just kind of was a nice little meeting. From there, I was still very happy. I was very happy after that meeting. Meeting those people was very amazing experience. And as I was going up the steps, I met the sweetest like woman from Alabama. Like, she had the accent and everything, and that was the first time I ever met anyone with that accent. That just made it just really sent me to the top, the tippy top there with that, and I was like, man, this is great. I'm really gonna do it this time. Whatever I'm gonna see. I gotta see the ocean from a real good vantage point. And I had been like claustrophobic, like, and that was really depressing for me too, on the ship, because I get depression very easily, as I was saying. The claustrophobia was it was like the Star Wars when they're in the garbage disposal, like the walls moving in on me. That's what it felt like. And I didn't have a balcony. I didn't have a balcony in my room, obviously, because it was in the middle of the ship. Couldn't even sleep in there, really. So I was like, I got to get to a balcony. I don't care. I'm going right now. This is my life. I'm going to make it my best. And so I went to this room that was open, I was looking for an open room, or I was going to just ask someone if I could go on their balcony and see the ocean. Well, I guess yeah. And so I found one very quickly. This all happened in like the matter of like a minute. The whole thing that I'm about to describe just transpired. I was like, hey, can I asked the people cleaning the room. It's like, hey, can I go on your balcony? Can I go on the balcony here? I just want to look at the ocean. I'll be like 5 minutes tops. And they're like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And I was like, I'll give you a tip. I'll give you some money. 5 minutes. That's all. They're like, no, you can't. No, you can't. I was like, okay, well, it's not a big deal. And I just kind of went in. I just went on the balcony, and I was like, and it was worth it. At that moment, I was like, yes, I was so happy. Like, that was the first time I felt like happiness in like a long time from that point. Before that point, the ocean was as magical as I envisioned from a balcony from someone's room. And literally in like, I swear it was like, it was like 30 seconds. They already had brought security, and like, it was just a big ordeal all of a sudden. So yeah, I voluntarily stepped off the balcony after a very short period. I cooperated with everyone. So yep, okay, that's fine. And then they took, I think, I don't remember exactly what order things happened, but they took me down to the brig, the dungeon. They put me in the dungeon, a hospital room basically for sick people, in the very bottom of the ship. And I waited there for a bit. And all of this, I was still very rose-colored glasses. Like I didn't care about anything that was going on. I was just like, I got my moment. I was happy. I was still in that the Christy, the Jesus Christo Christmas. I was very Christmassy still feeling. So it took a while, but I don't remember how long it took, but I went and they knocked on the door and brought me up, and my dad was there, and he looked very afraid or sad or something, and we went and met the captain and told me, what you've committed, something about a crime. I committed a crime or something, or I don't know exactly what they said, but they're just like, yep, okay. I don't remember if they told me at that point I was being taken off the cruise or whatever, but my dad just simped for the chef. I was gonna say chef, but captain. Easily, and it's like, you committed a crime. Yep. And it all seemed very fake or like stupid to me at the time as well. I was just happy to meet the captain. I thought that was cool. And so that happened, and then they got me on the phone with a doctor. This is down in the brig room after that. And the doctor, in quotation marks, on the phone asked me some very simple questions like, what's your name, where you're from, and I gave him the answers simply, and somehow from that phone call, literally it was only like those two questions, maybe one more, very simple, they had diagnosed me with bipolar disorder. So now that I reflect on it now, they got a 2-in-1. And not only was I committing a crime on international waters, I was deranged as well. Somehow they got both of those. So really they had me pegged from there, I guess. ... Yeah, so then I spent probably like 24 hours down in this brig room. It was basically a hospital room with a TV. It had a big screen TV. And I'm telling you, the mushrooms were still going hard. Like, when I turned on the TV, it was crazy. Like, watching CNN on mushrooms is nightmare fuel, and it's like, because it's working, like, not necessarily nightmare fuel, but like generally it is, because your thoughts affect the entire world somehow, like they coincide with each other, and it's a very strange dynamic that you are experiencing. And on one of the channels, wouldn't you know it, I remember this is during Christmas break. My birthday was going on, basically in 2 days, and the ship was throwing a party. So this is one of the only. This is really sad for me. I mean, like, I was watching on the first. I've never seen this on the cruise. There was a ship channel on the TV where you could watch everybody on the cruise. It was like, was that? I can't believe that was real now in review. But like, yeah, I was watching the ship partying while I was just locked in the brig room. And yeah, for what I saw was I took this very in stride, at the time. I didn't really care so much, but it did affect me. Like, I was like, what is this? What's going on? And I was just meeting people. I guess, like, I was just kind of like very peaceful, and I kind of recognized that I didn't care what was going on to me or around me or to me, quotation marks, because like I just enjoyed connecting with people for real, and that's really all that mattered to me. And I guess that kind of sticks from my my perspective right now. I mean, who cares what people think or what they're doing? Like, if they're whatever dancing they got their voodoo doll out or poking you with needles or whatever, they're dancing on your grave. Who cares? Who cares? How does that affect you, really? They're in a lower state. Doesn't matter. But yeah, and when I was I remember meeting the guard, my security guard. He was a very nice person. I mean, yeah, as nice as a security guard can be. And he told me he was from Nepal. And when I was looking at him, in one eye, I saw, like, when I was talking to him, I could see his upbringing while he was living in Nepal, and he described carrying water from the river over mountains. And I remember seeing, when I was talking to him, I could see that happening in one eye, and then I saw, like, this was in his shadow, and then one half of him was in the room. It was like I was stepping through a doorway into Nepal. This is another reason why I wasn't like afraid or didn't care about what was going on, because my perception was so that I was seeing so far past the present moment while also being in the present moment. And I knew that was it, man, right there. That's it, which that is it. It is that which it is. Good is what I'm going for. And so, yeah, eventually after the 24 hours or who knows how long, I couldn't tell anything, time, no windows, no real updates. I didn't know what the phone call was about. My mom came down. She was very sad, as just normal state. She told me, yeah, we gotta get off the ship, and like it was all very sad, and I was absorbing these emotions. And I told her she was the only person I told about, like, I wanted to marry that girl on the cruise ship. But it didn't matter at that point. Nobody was listening to me and my viewpoint didn't matter. Not that it ever really. Anyway, yeah. So we stop at the next island, and I was just happy to be on a tropical island again. Still. and we go to the airport. It was the first time I seen an airport that was open air. Like, the building was open air. Like, it was open to outside. An airport that was open to outside. Like, the whole side of the building was open. It was really cool. And that was the first time in that airport when we were in line. So this is what happened. We were in line to go on the plane back to old Pegtoba, right? And I didn't really want to do that, and we didn't really have to do that. Like, everyone was very in this whole mode of, like, I don't know, like, they thought I was, like, in trouble, like, medically or something, I guess. And they're like, we got to get back, and we got to talk to the docs and get you all zipped up and zip tied, and put the, what do you call it? The muzzle, I guess. The muzzle. We got to get your muzzle. We got to get your blinders on. We got to get back and put you in a cell, basically, is what was going on, I guess, in review. And I was just kind of very emotional, like, not in a negative way. I was just very happy to be there, you know. And this was the first time I met this kid. We were at the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I met this kid. He was like, he saw my book, my diary that I brought with me. It was very like, it looked like a spell book. It was really cool. And he liked it. And he saw I showed him my drawing in it. And I gave him my diary right there just because he liked it. And that was, I don't know, that was just, I was inspired by how I felt. And that was I think that was the first time I really just kind of gave selflessly something that I liked to someone, which was pretty big, I guess. And then right after that, we got into this conversation about, like, well, you don't. I was like, I had to speak my truth. I was in the state where I felt very strongly about stuff. And I brought up, like, hey, you guys could get married on the island. Again, like, people do those second marriages, right? I was very lovey-dovey at the time. They completely shot it down. My dad thought I was going insane because I said that, and that I was very, like, I don't know how you describe my state of being was very emotional, basically. So it got heated very fast, as things do with my father. And he called the fire department on me at the airport. I was like, okay, call the fire department. I don't care. Go ahead. And I literally didn't, like, I wasn't, like, angry or anything. I was like, sure, great. I get to stay on the island more, basically, is what I felt. And so, yeah, they got the fire department for the emergency. Which at the time I was like, why did you find that offensive that I brought that up, that idea? I still kind of think it's sussy, to be honest, but I don't know. I mean, it's pretty intense what I was bringing up, so I don't blame right now. I don't blame anyone for that, but still, kind of sussy. Anyway, yeah. So I end up in the hospital. Which I didn't know where I was going, actually. The fire department took me somewhere. It was a cell, like, not a cell. It was like just a room, a locked room. Ended up being the hospital, the mental hospital. And yeah, I remember waking up. They gave me drugs, I guess. And I woke up and I was, I missed the part where I was in the hospital and they were talking to me and trying to diagnose me or get a better idea of what was going on. And I remember I was seeing math, like, like in Zach Galifianakis, the meme, when he's in the casino and he's seeing all the calculus and whatever flying over his head. That was going on. I had never have had that happen before or after that moment. And then the next day, when I woke up in the bed in the locked room, it was like I was reading, because I could feel, I was so sensitive to the cold that for whatever reason I had to go under the bed. I was sensitive to light too, and I was decoding the language of cold, of temperature. That's the best way I can describe it. Not in so many words, really. Like, I couldn't tell you what it means or whatever, but in the moment I could. So yeah, I was pretty neutral. I felt good still. I felt very good. And while I was in the hospital there, I met some very interesting people. There was one lady. She said she had gone on Oprah, and that she was given a lot of money, like millions of dollars or $1 million or something, and it was under her floorboards, and that she would give it to me. And I don't think she was lying either. But at some point in the conversation, I said something, or like, I was still very, very high energy. Like, I think she sensed something in me, and she just kept repeating, very loudly, "The power in the blood, the power in the blood, the power." And she started yelling, and then everyone had to come and sedate her, which was pretty crazy. And then I've later on, I actually, just this year, I learned that was she was reciting something from the Bible, which is interesting. Yeah, and also this, I remember I could sense, or like, I don't know how to explain this one. I could see this Chinese guy's song. He would sing before he would come into the recreational room, and I could see his music, or like sense the vibration of the music, I guess, is what was going on. Yeah. And then, so the main part of what happened in the hospital was like, it was Christmas Eve. It was my birthday, and I was sitting in the recreational room, and there was a Christmas tree set up. And that moment, like, it was getting dark, pretty early as well, or I guess it was like, yeah, it was around like 9 o'clock or whatever, and I was just sitting there, and I was pretty sad. This is where I was pretty sad. I was like, because I love Christmas, usually. It's very special to me, personally. Not just Christmas Day, my birthday. It's a whole. The whole shebang is quite not an ordeal. Well, it is usually an ordeal, to be honest, but it's very personal to me, is what I'm saying. And I was sitting in the break room, just trying to feel like Christmas or my birthday. Like, it was just sad that, like, I was there not with my family, basically. And then so the nurse came in when I was sitting there, and she was like, "Oh, you got to go back to your room. The break room's or the recreational room is closing. Closes at 9." I was like, "Oh, can you just give me 10 more minutes? I'm just sitting with the Christmas tree." That's literally what I said. And then she's like, "No, you got to go back to your room." And I was like, "I'll just be 10 more minutes." And I was very calm. I was very calm about that. And she went away. She's like, she went away. And pretty much, I thought, okay, she was just giving me a break and letting me stay. And then, no, wouldn't you know it, had just, all of a sudden there was like 5 people in the room. 5 to 6 people are just surrounded me and like held me down and injected me with whatever sedative. They sedated me. I was like, yeah, it was pretty freaky, man. Yeah. Like had to hold me down, and I was like, yeah, it was like, what? Why? So stupid. So yeah, that was basically that was the cruise, family cruise for me. Yeah. And when I got back, eventually I got back to Canada, got on the plane, got on some drugs, and I was very numb after that, and everyone looked at me differently. Everyone treated me differently. Yeah. Not much to say after that, really. That was just part 1. That was a big part though, because it was like opening up to sensitivities that I never knew could exist, basically. Yeah. I'll probably cut it here just for part 1. And you'll have to listen to the next one. Because there's a big phase after this that occurs, a big main phase. This is just the precursor. So if you enjoyed that, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, just a couple important footnotes before I completely sign off. Yeah, so that was an important phase of the awakening, I'd say. But so when I was talking about frostbite, when I got frostbite the first time, and also with the breeze, they were connected in the same moment where I was making this connection with the star, this one star in the sky. I couldn't tell you. I don't remember what the connection was, other than I felt like I was touching it when I put my finger up in the sky. When I was like pointing at the star, and like when I was putting my finger where the star was in the sky, it felt like I was touching the star, like we were having an actual connection. I couldn't tell you exactly what my connection was with this star, but that's how I got frostbite. It was extremely cold out on that day, or that night, when I was walking back from my friends. I was actually putting my finger up to the star in the sky, and that's when I got frostbite, actually. It wasn't even that long being outside, or so I thought, I guess, but it was just that cold. And also, a big important part of that I left out was, even though yes, I was diagnosed bipolar or whatever, which was quite silly at the time. But if looking at my astrology, it really makes sense. Like, there's a lot of details to go into, but like having a Cancer moon with a Capricorn sun, those are two of opposite polarities, very, very different things going on. And if you look at my chart, it just makes sense. But one is not equal to the other in the same way, because one like it's another conversation, but labeling someone bipolar and then treating them differently because of it doesn't add up to anything positive, or it's just not succinct with what actually is going on. Yeah. But the main point is just the astrology just lines up so well. My astrology, yeah.